Hello, welcome back to my channel. Yes. So, Blue Friday show is gone. So instead, on Friday, we do this now. Well, I've not prepared anything for this stream because I don't know if people would prefer it if I prepared things or not. Because it's a stream, right? I mean, why do people watch live streams? Raw thoughts. If you wanted something prepared and scripted, you'd watch a video, right? So I've not prepared anything. Except for just the Premier League fixture list, of course. I've got the table in front of me. And I've got something very interesting, which we will come back to this later on, in front of me as well. And that is the ELO rating of every Premier League team. Now, I've made this statistic myself, and I'm very interested in seeing how well this works. But we'll come back on this later in the stream. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting. Maybe you don't, but I do. Now, it's already playing Leeds against West Ham. So I'll just start with that game because that game's already going. And this is supposed to be a preview. Let's be honest, nobody really cares. No offense, nobody really cares about Leeds and West Ham. But let's talk about them. Except for fans of those teams, of course. Big up to Rosa in chat. Let me pin that message. Big up to him. Big up to him. Hello. Leeds United and West Ham are playing, I am aware. I should have done this stream a bit earlier, but I just didn't have time. I would have done this stream at 6 if I could. Maybe I should do that next week. Do it at 6 to get it before any fixture. I think that will work next week. I mean, it should work. I've got a week off. Prediction Antwerp Club Brugge. Well, this is a Premier League stream, so I'll stay on topic after answering this. Right. But I think Bruges win. I'll leave it at that. Is this a replacement for Blue Friday show? It's good to have multiple weekly shows, I think. I enjoy them. Well, big up Rosa. I enjoy that you enjoy them. Now Belgium women are playing. I don't really care, to be honest. Belgium always disappoints. So, Leeds United. You know, it's interesting because I told you guys on the ELO thing I made earlier. According to this ELO system, again, I've made this, and this is not perfect. An ELO system requires 30 games to be accurate. We've had 8 in the Premier League. But West Ham are significantly below Leeds. Leeds actually rank 19th in the Premier League based on my ELO. And Leeds rank 16th. Now that is not including a penalty that I gave to each promoted side. So all 3 teams, Leeds, Burnley, and Sunderland, that got promoted, I deducted 50 ELO points at the start of the season. So I did 1600 to everyone, and I deducted 50 from the 3 promoted sides. So why is that interesting? West Ham is lower on the list than Leeds. That not only does that mean that Leeds had to overcome a gap, it means Leeds United played tougher opponents and is above the table. West Ham is in absolute shambles right now. I have to say, I've not watched any West Ham games this season. I've watched clips, but not full games. I don't have to. Just every time I watch a goal, like a highlight of a goal, the defense is in shambles. I see barely any highlights of them attacking. I've looked at statistics. They aren't attacking. That's the problem. They have no attack. Midfield is a myth. And their defense is woeful. West Ham, it's not even that Kudus was their attack. But it's not that just Kudus held them together. I feel like nothing holds this team together right now, this West Ham team. They are incredibly poor. So West Ham, I do reckon, will lose that game. And they're already 19th in the Premier League table. If they lose that game now, they're on 4 points. Assuming Wolves win, they go bottom of the league. Now, Wolves, I'll get to them later, but I don't think they'll win. But just think about that. West Ham could be at the bottom of the league. Well, if Burnley lose, let's assume Burnley lose for now. Could be at the bottom of the league by 3 points away from safety. In fact, if Nottingham Forest win, they could be more away. They could be 4 points away from safety. I know it's only 8 games, but in only 8 games, they're 4 points away from safety. In 8 games, they have picked up so far 4 points. In 9 games, sorry, they'll have picked up 4 points. And they are already losing to Leeds. That game has been going for 7 minutes. That game has been going for 7 minutes. West Ham is already losing to Leeds. I think this team is fucked, to put it bluntly, if I'm being honest with you guys. Leeds will win. West Ham are relegation toppers at the moment. Yes, I agree. I think West Ham are getting relegated. They didn't buy. They sold their best player. And, I mean, what do they have? They've got aging players. They've got nothing interesting in that academy. And they sold their best guys. It's woeful management by West Ham. And honestly, it's been woeful management since the Conference League, hasn't it? Sheffield Wednesday had a 12-point deduction. Well, hey, Sheffield Wednesday, talk about corruption. Everyone talks about our charges, 115. Talk about fucking corruption, Sheffield Wednesday. That is a terrible accent, but talk about corruption, bruv. Next week, Bruges into Belgian Cup. Wait. I'll try to keep this on topic, but I'm actually blindsided by that. Yeah, against Aalst. I completely forgot about that. That actually blindsided me. Luckily, next week I have off. Otherwise, there would have been no stream to that. I had not anticipated that game. Good thing that I've got next week off, eh? Anyhow, I think a much more interesting game. Chelsea-Sunderland. Now, Chelsea is interesting. Yeah, Chelsea is really interesting because they've had good results. They've had really poor results. Chelsea has had two-faced results, I'll say. They drew Palace. Poor result. Later on, we see that Palace is pretty good in the Prem, but let's just say it's a poor result. It's less than what you expect. They beat West Ham. You expect that of Chelsea, right? They beat Fulham. Okay. They're just a bad result to start the season off. Right? No. Because they draw Brentford. Okay, Brentford is playing good right now. Okay, Brentford at home can be difficult. Okay, fair. You go to Chelsea's next game. They lose to Man United. A terrible Man United team. Now, if you go to my ELO system, they lost 22 points over that loss. That is the biggest loss of points in a single game up to that point. Again, it's not a perfect system, but that shows you something. They should not be losing to Man United. They really shouldn't. Then you look at their next game. They lose to Brighton. That breaks the previous record of losing to Man United. So you go to the next game. And at the next game, what do you expect Chelsea to do against Liverpool? Lose, right? No, they win. Sorry? So they lose to Man United. They lose to Brighton at home. They drew Crystal Palace. But they get a win against Liverpool. There's inconsistency there. Because, I mean, guess what happens next week, by the way, for Chelsea? They beat Forest, but it's Angers Forest, so who cares? So they keep going up and down. Now Sunderland is a consistent team. It's a consistent team. Are they good? Yeah, they're good. I'll say they're good, but are they great? No. So they're not a great team, but they are consistent, and Chelsea is not. You know what Sunderland will turn up. You know that a good, defensively solid, quick on the counter, well-coached Sunderland will show up with Granit Xhaka and Sadiki, that midfield. You know that's a strong midfield. It's a physically strong midfield. It's a alert midfield. If Chelsea show up there, and they don't start off well, and it is at Stamford Bridge, by the way, for those wondering. If Chelsea show up there and they don't start out well, suddenly they'll be trailing quickly. Because Sunderland just counters quickly, and they're lethal on the counter. They don't need many chances this season to score. They had such good management. They've got Lefebvre, Dalby, who's been pretty good. They've got a lot of good players in that summer. It's actually ridiculous how well they recruited. I don't rate Sunderland's striker too highly, but it's okay. Because they have a striker at least, and they have those wingers, and they have midfielders who can contribute to goals. So you know what? Leeds, I just go with the safe option. Yeah, they'll win against West Ham, and they are already winning. But against Chelsea Sunderland, I'll say Sunderland to win. I'll say Sunderland to win by 2 goals. 1-3. I think Chelsea are gonna get absolutely blindsided by Sunderland. They're gonna get absolutely blindsided. And Maresca, to be fair, yeah, Maresca seems to be able to deal with low blocks most of the time. West Ham, but again, West Ham are shit. Fulham, but it's like inconsistent. Yeah, most of the time they deal with a low block well, but then that one game, they're just not there. So I think Sunderland is going to be that game. Sunderland, consistent, you know what you're going to get. Chelsea, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. So I'll say Sunderland to win. By 2 goals, sorry. 1-3. Me too, I got a week off. I mean, everyone does in Belgium. Marguerite against Chelsea. Goal Belgium women. Marguerite, I don't think it's a player thing, this Chelsea game. I think this is a team thing. Sunderland is a well-coached team. Sunderland is a consistent. Sunderland has players who are maybe not the top level anymore in Xhaka, and Sadiki maybe not top level yet, but they have players. They have players who are team players. Chelsea, they've got elite players, but they're not clicking right now. I'm not saying they're not team players, they are, but they're not clicking at the moment. By the way, Leeds United is winning 2-0 already. Sunderland will win because of Dalby. I mean, I'll have to disagree. I mean, Dalby does well on the counter, but that's about the limit of his skill set, if I'm being honest with you. Because I mean, Rosa, you watched the Belgian League last season because I was doing watch-alongs to it. Know what Dalby is like. Once in a big game, he'll be good on a counter, but then he'll disappear for 5 months. And he'll miss tap-ins. 2 tap-ins in a single game, he'll miss it. But a big game in the Belgian League and a big game in the Premier League are different caliber. So I'm not quite sure, to be honest, about that. I think Dalby will struggle against Chelsea. I think Dalby will play well against the mid-table teams. He'll play a bit more poorly against all the relegation teams. And I think he just won't be able to cope against the top teams, to be honest. On the 20... Excuse me. On the 29th of October, that's the Belgian Cup game, are the Guehi against Sunderland. Did Guehi come from Sunderland? I'm not sure about that, to be honest. James Talby Brace. He doesn't score a lot, to be honest. Has he scored yet this season? Let's see that. James Talby has not scored for Sunderland. He's had 1 assist. In 8 games. That's not something to write home about, but it is his debut season. And Belgian women are losing again. Well, that's what our women's team does best, unfortunately. You can't expect more. I mean, no offense, our women's team, any team of Belgium, prepared to be disappointed. Prepared. Anyhow, Newcastle against Fulham. Why do I say it like that? Fulham. Close enough. Newcastle against Fulham. I mean, neither of them have been particularly good this season. Newcastle have shocked me. Because they've got good players, Newcastle, but they just don't seem to get results. I think their back four and their goalkeeper is too old. I think that's a problem with Newcastle, because if you look at their attack, I mean, not attack, but if you go to midfield first, you've got good players there. Tonali, a good player. Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Linton, good players. Woltemade, Gordon, good players. So you've got a really good core. Livramento, a good player. But then I look at what surrounds them. Murphy, not quite the quality you need. Dan Burn, Botman, they're getting old. Yao, I mean, I've not seen enough of him to say, but doesn't look good. Nick Pope, he's old. Kieran Trippier off the bench. You know what I mean when I give you that nod. Barnes, Osula, Ilanga. Ilanga is probably the best player on that bench. And I'm not listing off against a random team. I'm listing off the players that they used against Arsenal. They've got good players there, like Woltemade and Tonali. They've got nothing around it. It's all well and fine to have this really good-looking spine, but you need some fat. You can't just be skin and bones. Yeah, you've got the best bones in the world, but you've just got skin on that. You've got no fat. And that's not even the best spine you can get. That's a bit of an exaggeration. Really big exaggeration even. So Newcastle, they just lack that team around that spine, and that's making the spine suffer a lot. Meanwhile, you look at Fulham. I'm actually surprised as well. I thought Fulham would be doing better, but I'll just take a peek again at my ELO. They are exactly where I expect them to be. If you look at my ELO list, and I'll show you this at the end of the stream. Fulham, 15th in the table, 15th based on ELO. Newcastle, 14th in the table, 14th based on ELO. Brentford, 13th, Sunderland, 7th in the table, but 12th in ELO table. So you've got about what you'd expect there. It's really surprising for me. I expected Fulham to be better. So it is at St. James's Park. So I'll go Newcastle to win. Not because they're very good right now, but because Fulham just have had nothing to them. Fulham has had nothing to them this season. They've been very poor. So I'll go Newcastle to win. 2-0. Fulham win against Newcastle. 1-3 Fulham. Now that'd be an upset. That will be an upset, for sure. 2-0 Newcastle, says Rosa. I say the same thing. 2-0 Newcastle. Man United against Brighton. That's interesting as well. For all the wrong reasons. Brighton have had a few poor results recently, but are overall good. Man United are overall bad, but have had a few good results recently. So it's the exact opposite, right? A good team in bad form and a bad team in good form. The obvious cause of that good form. Senna Lammens against the Kuiper. Two Bruges players. Ex-Bruges players. The cause of the good form for Man United is obviously Senna Lammens. I think. Brilliant shot stopper. I said I'm glad he's out of the Belgian league because he played for Antwerp and he kept stopping all the shots and he kind of carried that team. And now he's doing the same at Man United. He is carrying Man United. I hope that this guy goes to Real Madrid. Actually, no. But I hope this guy fucks off from Man United soon enough. Because the biggest problem Man United have had since the year went was a goalkeeper. They've solved that now. Caveat, that doesn't mean they're a good team now. They're not. But they've gotten results, like a win against Liverpool. Liverpool's struggling, I know, but a win is a win. So, you know what? I'll go with a 1-1 draw. I'll go with a 1-1 draw there. I think Man United, I mean, it's Old Trafford as well. I think Man United are not better than Brighton. But I think Brighton in a bit of poor form and Senna Lammens a really good performance. And you keep that at 1-1. Then the last game, or the last Saturday game, most interesting. In my humble opinion. This is the game. This is the game that I want to watch tomorrow. In fact, I don't think I've got any watch-alongs scheduled for tomorrow, so maybe I can sneak that in there. Let me check. I'm just checking my schedule mid-stream. I've got Valencia here. Nah, fuck Valencia. Brentford, Liverpool. There we go. I've put that in my schedule. This is a game I want to watch. First of all, Igor Thiago. Igor Thiago, if you don't know, he single-handedly won Bruges a league title. Would have legit not finished top 5 without Igor Thiago. He single-handedly won Bruges a league title. He went out at the end of the season, but by that point it carried us so hard to get to the top of the league that the rest of the team could take over. But yeah, Liverpool. Okay, they've got a win. But forget for now. Forget about Frankfurt. They lose a bunch of games in a row. And I mean, these are not high quality teams that they're playing against. If someone says to me that Man United is a high quality team, I think you're wrong. Man United's not a great team. Chelsea, inconsistent as I said earlier. Galatasaray, you should not lose to Galatasaray if you're Liverpool. Crystal Palace, their boogie team, was invincible at that point in the league. Fair enough. Before that, before those 4 losses in a row, 2-1 against Southampton. Barely getting through against Southampton in the Carabao Cup. Everton, 2-1 win at Anfield. Okay, it's a derby. 3-2 win over Atletico Madrid, who Arsenal pammed 4-0. 1-0 win over Burnley. 1-0 win over Arsenal. 2-3 win over Newcastle. They've not had a convincing win. Except for maybe Bournemouth. 4-2 against Bournemouth. That's the first game of the season. Other than that, they have not had a convincing win until that Frankfurt 1-5. And listen, yeah, it's a great win against Frankfurt. But go back to Man City's 1 win in 13. I'm not saying Liverpool will do 1 win in 13. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, go back to that run. That 1 win was a 3-0 win over a very strong Nottingham Forest. But then you just reset to basics and everything flops again. Against Frankfurt, guess who did not play? You've had your time to guess. It was Salah. Mo Salah did not play. McAllister didn't play either. But I don't think McAllister was the issue for Liverpool. In fact, I think they looked better when McAllister came on. I think they need to drop Salah. I'm not saying permanently, but I think right now they need to drop Salah. If Salah is him, okay, come back into the team. Salah will play his way back into the team if he is him. But right now, I think he needs to get dropped. And that is where I'm leading on with this. They beat Frankfurt because Salah did not play. Why did Salah not play? Because he's being rested for Brentford. Salah will be rolled out onto the pitch against Brentford. And then they'll get cooked. Because Brentford, deep block, call it the Chinese wall, but it's in England. I mean, it's typically English. They take something from another country and they call it English. Like Chinese food, they think that's English. You'll have the Wall of China there. Birds struggling to break down deep blocks. Oh, we got 2 assists against Frankfurt. Against the high line. Against a deep block, he's really struggling. Ekitike, he might very well be on the bench again. Then Salah there, who I don't think should be playing at the moment for Liverpool. I think Liverpool are gonna have that good win and they'll revert back to basic. Revert back to what you're doing already. And now you're gonna struggle. Brentford at home has been difficult this season for a lot of teams. Igor Thiago is on great form. And it's not just form, by the way, it's class. Because I said this. Go back to my channel in 2024 during the Conference League. I said this guy is the next Ivan Toney. I said it's the next Ivan Toney. And then he went to Brentford, which is actually pretty funny. I didn't expect that. But that is what he is. He's such a good player. He's got big game moments in him. He's got the all-round quality. As a player, he's a very good striker. For against the goals, he's a very good striker. And he's got goals. Now, on the counter, by the way, he's incredibly lethal. Van Dijk is the saving grace that Liverpool has. They've got Virgil van Dijk. But I think, yeah, you look at Brentford against Liverpool. I think Brentford play a few long balls. And you don't have to win every duel. If you are Igor Thiago, you don't have to win every duel. You just have to get the ball into Schade or Henderson or Damsgaard once in a while. If one of those three, if you can receive the long balls, chest them down, and bring them into Schade or Damsgaard, that Liverpool defense is Virgil van Dijk. And Milos Kerkez is okay, but he's on the other side of the pitch. You get that ball down the side of Frimpong and down the side of Konate, who I assume will play. Liverpool are going to struggle. So, what do I want to predict? Again, this is a game I want to watch. This is a game that I really want to watch. This is going to be a good game. This is going to be the best game of the weekend. I predict that already. 1-0. 1-0 Brentford. That is what I'll predict. Liverpool are going to get banned. Well, I think that's an exaggeration. That win against Frankfurt was a fugazi. I do agree with the latter statement. That's gonna be a fugazi, isn't it? That's the problem with Liverpool. They break teams, or they don't break teams down right now. You play a high line against Liverpool, good luck, you're getting fucked. But you play a deep block against Liverpool. Hey, Man City, 2 against Liverpool. What we did at the Emirates, we win. We will win if we do at Liverpool what we did at the Emirates. Deep blocks, stink the game out, get a goal on the counter. The reason Arsenal did not win against Liverpool was not because they played worse, it's because of an incredible free kick which you cannot replicate. Because when you talk about tactics, you talk about things you can replicate. A free kick like that cannot be replicated. Arsenal won that game on a tactical level. But they lost the game, which is the important part. But the tactics is what's important for predicting the future. If you lose games on a tactical level, then you can predict in the future you will actually lose games. You need to solve those tactics. Liverpool lost on a tactical level against Arsenal. Okay, they got the points. So get the points, world-class players can do that for you. Now fix the tactics. They didn't. They still struggle against deep blocks. If Arsenal could score, however, I know an if Arsenal is shit, but that's not the point. If Arsenal could score, they would have beaten Liverpool. Because they would have been able to sit back. Excuse me. They would have been able to sit back more. They would have been... They wouldn't have had to go forward as much. They wouldn't have to make those fouls. They would have been able to hold on to the ball more, not just lose it. And Liverpool would have been at a loss. Brentford will not struggle to score as much as Arsenal. Because Brentford, first of all, they're just better on a counter, to be honest. Arsenal is very good when they're building up, but on the counter, not as good. I think at least. I've not watched Arsenal a lot this season. I've watched 2 games, but still, I'm taking what I know from last season, from Arsenal. But yeah, I think Brentford is better on the counter. I think Brentford is a better striker, if I'm being terribly honest with you. So yeah, I'll go 1-0. I'll go 1-0 to Brentford. What game are we talking about? Brentford against Liverpool. But we're moving on from that now. Goal West Ham, but the goal was disallowed. So that remains 2-0 in that game. Right then. Wolves against Burnley. I'm talking a lot. Normally in these streams, I'm not talking as much. But I mean, I'm talking, but I'm like, not talking as energetically. But you know what it is? You get bored of talking about just one team, don't you? This is fun. I get to talk about any team. I get to talk shit of any team. Because I've glazed Arsenal for a bit. But hey, Arsenal are coming up soon. First, Wolves against Burnley, though. I mean... that is going to be the worst game this... I said earlier, Brentford-Liverpool is going to be the best game of the weekend. Burnley against Wolves is going to be the worst game. Don't do yourself the disfavor of watching that game. I promise you, it will be bad. These teams can't score. These teams can't pass. These teams can't defend. Burnley can counter a little bit better than Wolves, but I mean, both of these teams are so shockingly I mean, for Burnley, it's not shocking, is it? It's a newly promoted side. What did you expect? But Wolves, they lose Cunha, they lose Ait-Nouri, they've lost another few players, they've not replaced any of them. And well, I believe a lot of people predicted at the start of the season that Wolves would get relegated. I believe I predicted that in my Premier League predictions. But I think they might fizzle out here. They've not played a single good game this season, if I'm being honest, because I mean, Wolves has gotten results, but they weren't good when they got those results, right? Because I believe they drew... Was it Chelsea that Wolves drew against? No, it wasn't Chelsea. Who did they draw against? Let me see here. They drew Brighton. Wolves drew Brighton. Yeah, that's a good result, but I feel like Brighton wasn't good that game. I don't feel like Wolves drew that game because they were solid enough. I feel like Brighton just didn't do their job. They drew against Tottenham. But again, same story. Tottenham did not do their job. And that's the only 2 points they have. That's the only 2 points. Tottenham, with a flaccid dick, can't score. And Brighton, much of the same story. They've not had any good game. Not any good performance. It's shocking. I mean, at 8 games, even if you're in a relegation battle, at 8 games, you should have at least 1 good performance. They have 0. None. They're getting relegated. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Burnley is actually the weakest, I believe, of the newly promoted sides. I said that before. Premier League even started as well. So I don't think it's going to be a sweep. But I think Burnley will win. And the reason I don't think it's going to be a sweep is because Burnley just can't pass a fucking ball. You need to watch Burnley. They can't string... Excuse me. They can't string together 5 passes. You need to watch them. It's actually funny. Take a shot every time Burnley complete 5 passes in a row. You won't have to take any shots all game. They're that bad at passing. Honestly, they should just play long balls and pray. That's what I would do if I was Burnley, and you can pass that poorly. To be fair to this Wolves, maybe they'll have a bit more joy. But I'll go with 1-0. 1-0 to Burnley. Brentford 2-0 is a Wim's prediction. But Voracek leads. Yeah, the goal was disallowed there. Burnley 2-0 Wolves, my prediction. I'll go with 1-0. I'm going with a few 1-0s this today. Jamie Carragher or Aaron van der Sar? In what way? As a player? That's a bit of a weird... That's a bit of a weird comparison. Jamie Carragher was a centre-back. Van der Sar was a goalkeeper. That's a weird comparison to make. As players? I mean, it's no competition as players, is it? How many trophies did Van der Sar win? He won a few league titles with Man United. I know that much, but I'm not sure how much exactly. He won the Champions League. I mean, yeah, it's gonna have to be Van der Sar. If I'm being honest, it's gonna have to be Van der Sar, right? Because yeah, he won like 4 or 5 Premier League titles. Yeah, Carragher got 0. So I'll have to go with Van der Sar. Sean Dice ball yesterday. Oh, we'll talk about Sean Dice's new club soon. Jamie Carragher laughing sometime. Legend. I think Jamie Carragher is a fucking clown, to be honest. I can't stand him. He's so annoying. He waffles. I mean, I waffle. All YouTubers waffle. But you know what the problem is? It's fine to waffle a bit if you're a YouTuber. You don't take yourself too seriously. Jamie Carragher actually thinks he's a fucking prophet. Like, honest to God, he thinks he's a prophet, but he's just waffled. It's fine to waffle. Don't pretend like you fucking understand the game at super high level. If you did, you'd be a coach. Instead, you're sitting there being a useless pundit. Nah, I don't like Carragher, to be honest. As a pundit, I don't like him. He's also just a liar. I'm just gonna call it out. Anyhow, Burnley 1-0 over the Wolves. Arsenal, Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, good start to the season, but you see this a lot. You see this a lot. Teams will start good in the season, but then they'll fade. Like, take Leicester, not in 2016, like 2015-16, but 2014-15. They got promoted, they played very good, then they sagged down to bottom of the league for like majority of the season. Then in the last 7 games, they managed to stay upright. So sometimes you'll have teams and they start very good in the season, but that doesn't mean they're actually good. They drop down again. I think that's what happened with Crystal Palace. I don't think that they've got a particularly good record against Arsenal at the moment. And, I mean, let's be honest to Arsenal. They have been okay. I'm not going to say they've been world class, because they've not been world class. Let's just be honest. If they win 1-0 against Fulham, it's a result. Results matter more than performances. But performances do matter. They win 2-0 against West Ham, but this is a terrible West Ham team. They win 1-2 over the struggling Newcastle. It's at St. James Park, fair. They draw 1-1 with Man City, who I thought played that game very poorly, especially the game management. I mean, I'm thankful, but I don't think it's much to write home about. They beat Nottingham Forest 3-0, and before that, they lost 1-0 to Liverpool. I believe that was Angers Forest, I could be wrong there. Anyhow, I don't think that Arsenal has been particularly impressive this season. At the same time, I think Arsenal is getting better. They won 4-0 against Atletico Madrid. And I think that the form of Crystal Palace is seeping off. So Arsenal improve, Crystal Palace seep off. They're about at the same height right now. It's pretty obvious how that goes, isn't it? So it is at the Emirates as well. I mean, let me just throw this in. Does that matter that much in modern football? I feel like crowds in modern football are so fucking nurtured that it almost doesn't matter. It has some effect, but not as great as it used to. But anyhow, I think Arsenal will win. Their defense is too solid for the Palace. When's the last time they conceded a goal in the Premier League? Arsenal. You'd actually have to go back to Newcastle. Woltemade, a great striker. Newcastle are going to score goals. So you have to go back to very good strikers, Woltemade and Haaland. Like, it's okay to concede a goal against Woltemade and Erling fucking Haaland. Before that, if they conceded a goal to Liverpool, that's it. They're not conceding goals. We know that Arsenal have a great defense, and they continue to have a great defense. So all they have to do is get that attack sorted, and I mean, I've thought about the attack before, and I mean, there's disagreements about it, right? I think the problem for Arsenal is that they're playing Ødegaard in midfield. I think they should have Zubimendi, Declan Rice, and Eze in midfield. Left wing, I guess Martinelli is currently getting goals, so play Martinelli on form, sure. Gyökeres and Saka. But the problem is they force Eze on the wing. I don't think Eze is good on the wing, because when he did that at Crystal Palace, he was allowed to go central. Eze was king at Crystal Palace. Eze had the crown, he had the staff, he had everything. He was king of Crystal Palace. But at Arsenal, he's the side bitch. He's the side bitch to Saka. So, Saka is king at Arsenal. So Saka can go inside when he wants to. Saka can go wide when he wants to. Saka can do what he wants because he is king. Eze is not king at Arsenal. So you can't go into the middle to play free football the way that you would have at Crystal Palace. So yeah, at Crystal Palace, he played as a winger, but it's the same with Grealish. Grealish at Aston Villa, he was the king. Yeah, he played on the wing, but he didn't play the same role. If Grealish wanted to go inside, he went inside. If Grealish wanted to play a pass, he played that pass. He didn't have to care about any tactics or this or that. He was king. He did what he wanted. Eze can't do that at Arsenal, because he's not that guy at Arsenal. So you need to play him in midfield, where his role is necessarily free. If you put him in a restrictive role, which modern winger roles are, especially at Arsenal and Man City, you put him in a restrictive role, I think you hinder his creativity, and you make him a worse player. I think you do the same thing with with Eze right now, as what City did with Grealish. You put a necessarily creative and free player in a restrictive role, and you take away their best abilities, and you get a lesser product out of that player. I think that's what's happening with Eze. They need to put Eze in midfield. And drop Ødegaard, to be honest. You need to drop either Ødegaard or Declan Rice. Pick your choice, but Eze needs to go into that midfield, in my opinion. That is not what they're doing. That is why they're struggling in attack, I think. That is the biggest reason. There's other, smaller reasons, but I think that is the single biggest reason. Crystal Palace, Mateta, is playing well at the moment. I mean, let's be honest, Crystal Palace isn't exactly a star-laden team. They've lost a lot of players recently. They lost to that No, it's not a Swedish team. Was it a Polish team? Or it's a Greek team. It was a Greek team that they lost to. But yeah, they've lost all of their important players, like Olise, Eze, I talked about earlier. What remains for Crystal Palace? I believe that Wharton is overrated. Guehi is fine, but Lacroix, Richards, these are eh. They've not really got a good squad there, Crystal Palace. So I think that they're kind of too reliant on Mateta. And that can work in some games. Against Arsenal, I think you need a good team, because you're going to defend a lot against Arsenal. A good structure needs a strong structure, especially on set pieces. And I don't think they have that at the moment. So I do think that Arsenal win. But they need to be careful, because if Mateta goes through, they're done. Raya is not stopping a one-on-one with Mateta. It's not happening. And if it does happen, bad, I'm wrong. But if they go 1-0 down to Crystal Palace, you best believe those players will find their fucking energy. Those players will be like school kids on coke. So they need to stop Mateta from running through them. They need to play Eze in the middle and drop Ødegaard, drop Rice, I don't care, drop either one of them. And they need to try to find Gyökeres. They need to stop letting Gyökeres be uninvolved. Because he's too uninvolved. He's not Haaland. Haaland can be involved in the game without touching the ball. It's unfair to ask Gyökeres what Haaland does. He just can't do it. Nobody can do it. If anybody could do it, every club in the world would want to buy them, just like everyone wants Haaland. There's nobody but Haaland who can do it. So it's unfair to ask that of Gyökeres. So try to find him more. Then I think Arsenal are not just set up for Crystal Palace, but for the rest of the season. I think that's going to be a tough game, but I do think Arsenal win. 1-0. Let's go with another 1-0. Arsenal are the kings of 1-0, after all. Hey, if you grew up in the George Graham era, 1-0 to the Asna. 1-0 to the Asna, and at the end of the season, they won the trophy. Big up George Graham. But there you go. Rostien Drent, ex-Real Madrid and Feyenoord is in the hospital. That's unfortunate to hear. I'm afraid I'm not familiar with him. That is unfortunate to hear. Arsenal will get a corner and win. I mean, yeah. Listen. Yeah, Arsenal are only good on set pieces. That's wrong. also like good on set pieces. I don't see what's wrong with that. Being good on set pieces is a good thing. I think they're a bit too reliant on set pieces. That's where the argument comes, right? It's always set pieces. I think there's truth to that, but again, if they can start finding Gyökeres more, and they can create a more expansive playing style with Eze in the middle, I think they're kind of cooking. By the way, if you put Eze in the middle, you allow him to link up more with Ødegaard if you have him on the pitch, and Saka. You allow that link up to happen more often. Just saying. Anyhow, Aston Villa against Man City. I'm going to do a full preview to Aston Villa against Man City. Because I'm a Man City fan. But just to summarize what I've already said, Man City is going to win. I think it's gonna be a okay game, to be honest. I think a lot of people are panicking because, oh, it's Villa Park, but I'm not too impressed at the moment by Villa Park, if I'm being completely honest with you. Yeah, I think that's gonna be a win. Haaland is gonna score. It's gonna be 1-3. That's what I predicted. Haaland. I said Haaland, Foden, and someone else. Haaland, Foden, Shetty. Let's go with that. Haaland, Foden, Shetty. Goals. Man City wins 1-3. I think that's going to be a comfortable game, to be honest. I think we get that first goal early. Force Aston Villa to come out of the closet. No homo. Then hit them on the fucking counter. Be nasty with it. Switch it up. And then watch the whiplash that Aston Villa face when they see Man City on a counter. We go through. Score the second. They're done. Dead. They'll score the goal. Consolation. Nothing more. Our defense is actually solid for the most part. Nunez has a balls moment. That's all. They'll score a goal. But for the most part, with a solid defense and a very good attack. So I think we'll break them down. We'll score the goal. And then we'll hit them on the counter. So 1-3. Man City, Aston Villa. Bournemouth against Forest. I'm not very curious to watch that game. I don't like Sean Dyche's style of football. I like defensive football. Don't get me wrong. I like defensive football, but Sean Dyche just does it in a way that it's a bit boring. You know what the problem is with defensive football? Defensive football itself is not the problem. It's when all you do is defense. You're defending. One counter, defending. I mean, that's not football. That is what Sean Dyche plays. And proper defensive football, in my opinion, is you control the pitch while you defend. You decide where your opponent goes. They have the ball, but you decide where that ball moves. Because you're that well set up defensively. You lure them into traps. You create space for them to move the ball to, and then you close that space immediately, win the ball back. That is proper defensive football, in my opinion. And then you hit on the break. And you try to score. I mean, obviously. And when you have the ball, you try to play football. Okay, sometimes you just go long. Sometimes you try to play football. But that's not what Sean Dyche does. What Sean Dyche does is defend, long ball. Defend, long ball. It's fucking boring to watch. I think Bournemouth will spam them, to be honest. I'm kind of hoping that Forest gets relegated because of Wolfie. You know who Wolfie is, the Nottingham Forest fan on YouTube. Fucking annoying. I kind of hope they get relegated just because of Wolfie. So I'll go 1-0. Yeah, you know what Sean Dyche scoreline? 1-0. But it's to Bournemouth. 1-0 to Bournemouth, guys. Yeah, that's going to be a woeful game. If you want a game to watch, Nottingham Forest is not it. If you want a game to watch on Saturday, watch Brentford. if you want, or Sunderland, or both. If you want a game to watch on Sunday, probably Everton, Tottenham, to be honest, would be the best game. Let's talk about Everton, which is the last game now. Everton, Tottenham. I'll get to chat first. Arsenal 3-0 Crystal Palace is my prediction. Haram Bal. Well, 3-0 is not really Haram Bal. The 3-0 is a Pammy. Unless that's 3 quarters. Hey, get me 3 quarters here. Jari de Busser won, bro. Hey, Jari de Busser. He's kind of that guy. 30 minutes of stoppage time. But 30 minutes of stoppage time. Jesus, what happened in that game? The take-commit of daylight, the take-commit of robbery there. It's not like what's happening at Louvre right now. That's a long time. Especially for the first half. Bring Max Dauman on. I mean, sure, Max Dauman is okay, but I think people get too over the top with these young players like Oscar de Bob, like what's his name? O'Reilly. His name slipped out of my mind for a moment. To find Mukasa. People go over the top with these players, I think. That's what Dauman is. That's what Lewis Skelly is. A young player. Good, sure, but calma. Sunderland Glaze continues in the big 26. In the big 26, I hope. Oh, Sunderland Glaze continues as long as they have Xhaka and Sadiki in that midfield. Voldemort 1-2, Sean Dice. Rosa, it's Sean Dice. You have it here. You have it here, Rosa. It's 1-0. It's 1-0. No matter who wins, it's 1-0. Everton 1-0, Tottenham. I completely disagree with that. I think Everton-Tottenham is going to be a great game to watch, and I'll tell you why. First of all, Everton is kind of Grealish FC right now. They're winning games, but they're kind of Grealish FC, you know. It's either Grealish does something or nobody does anything. India, however you pronounce his name, I don't rate him. I don't rate him. He takes sick penalties, but I don't rate him. Tyler Dibbling, I don't rate him. I do like Tarkowski. I think he's a solid centre back. I rate Jerry Berry. Jerry Berry. I don't know how you say it, but I do rate him. I like him. The way he plays, I think he's a great striker. Great is over the top, but I think he's a very good Premier League striker. Very solid. And I think him and Grealish together have a great link-up. Beto is average, to be honest. And on the bench, they've got nothing. I mean, they've got nothing, really. Other than what I've just gone through. I don't rate that team. But Grealish is actually doing numbers for them. Because again, Grealish is in a free role. At Everton, Grealish is king. Grealish does what Grealish wants. And what has it resulted in so far? It's resulted in a goal and 4 assists. I think Grealish can make it tough for Tottenham. But here's the thing, yeah, with Spurs. Central backs. Van Dijk, Romero. Okay, Romero is average, I know. But Van Dijk... did I say Van Dijk? Van de Ven. Van de Ven, Romero. Solid partnership. Left back, right back is a bit more difficult. I think it's Porto and Spence at the moment. But that can be difficult. You throw Udogi in there. I'd go with Spence and Porto. That's a solid back four. Vicario. Okay, goalkeeper, not great, but okay. Go into that midfield. Alinia. Javi Simmons. Who goes next to them? That is a problem for Spurs. Alinia, Simmons, quality. But who goes next to them? Right now, no one really. Go to the right wing. Kudus, brilliant. Who's on the left wing? Yeah, because right now they're not playing Brennan Johnson. And that is what I think they need to do. Brennan Johnson left wing. Oh, Brennan Johnson is shit. Have no goals. Tottenham, 0 goals right now. They just don't score. They need Brennan Johnson on that pitch, no matter how shit he is. Get a goal. Because Thuram is injured. I'm not sure if he's back yet. Actually, let me look that up right now. I think, by the way, Thuram is not a great striker either. They needed a real striker. I don't think that Thuram is a real striker. But yeah, I mean, not Thuram. Muani. Sorry, call him Muani. Why am I thinking Thuram? I'm not sure. Probably because they played together. But call him Muani. It's not really a real striker, is he? He's okay. He's okay. I think they need a real striker there, though. A real striker. They need an Igor Thiago. That's what they need, an Igor Thiago. Yeah, just an Igor Thiago type of striker. A Delap, maybe. Even then, that's a bit iffy. Not a lot of good strikers to go around at the moment, if I'm being honest. But that's the type of striker they need. I don't think Muani will be that good for them. So that's their issue. 2 out of their 3 front 3 are poor. One of their midfielders is always a bit iffy. So they've got that good team, but it's just those 2.5 positions where you're like, this is not clicking. And when you don't have that clicking and you don't have those goals coming, that's where Tottenham have problems. Grealish has a good game. Everton got a goal early. Just saying. That's dinner. That's dinner. If Everton scored first, I think they win. But I don't think they will score first. I think Tottenham will score. Tottenham will try to get a second. Everton will score. And you'll restart the game, basically. And Tottenham will score again. I think Everton will score again. I think that game will be 2-3. I think Tottenham will score. Everton will score back. Tottenham will score again. Everton will score back. Then Tottenham will score and kill off the game. So 2-3 is my prediction for that final game. Tottenham against Everton. So, I've been waffling quite a while now. That's every game I've just gone through. I did say I had to show something for you guys. I did say I had something to show. My screen doesn't want to be shown. Here we go. And I'll zoom in for you guys so you can see that more clearly. And I'll explain what this is. So I've made this myself. You can see I've made this myself. This is my own document. This is every single Premier League game that is being recorded. Every single result I record in here. So by the way, 1-0 does not mean that's how much you won by. I record results, not performances. So 1-0 means you won. 0.5 means you drew. 0-1 means you lost. So that's how it works. I record every result and I calculate your ELO, which is a rating system, based on the FIDE rules. Each time, and I give 20 points advantage to the home side. And I'm doing that for the entire Premier League right now. And the idea is that by the end of the Premier League, I will have a system that can accurately predict who will win a league title. This is not how ELO works, but I'm just having fun with it. So right now, look at the ELO correspondence. This is your rank in the ELO table, and this is your position in the league table. The highest ranked ELO is currently number 1 in the league. Second highest ranked ELO is second. Third is third. The fourth is shared third. So same difference really. And look at how close this difference is, by the way. Look at how close. Crystal Palace is actually overperforming their ELO compared to what their position is. So that tells you Crystal Palace has played tougher opponents. So they'll go up. if this continues, if this trend continues, they'll go up in the table. Chelsea are about where they're supposed to be. Man United are actually underperforming right now in the league, which means they've played tougher opponents as well. Same thing as with Crystal Palace. Same story. Aston Villa, Brighton, same story. This is interesting. Tottenham is overperforming. Tottenham is too highly ranked at the moment. And I'm going to use this. But you can see, by the way, some of these are not accurate, but they're always close. Mid-table, mid-table. Mid-table, mid-table. I mean, this is one position off. Mid-table, 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 mid-table. Fifth, sixth, close enough. This is the biggest inaccuracy. Top 4 is all correct. Again, one off. Okay, this is a big overperformer at the moment, but this is accurate. I mean, this entire ranking here is accurate. One of these two. These two are accurate. So this system does work. And again, this needs 30 games to be really accurate. An ELO system needs, generally speaking, 30 games. But I think once we get to that point, once we get to a full season, I think that will be pretty much entirely accurate. I'll enjoy seeing how that goes. I'll enjoy that very much. Anyhow, again, I have waffled on for long enough. So I'll leave it there. Tell me if you like this unprepared, raw, ramble stream as I just go through the fixtures, or would you rather I prepare something and do it like a scripted video stream-esque? You tell me, I suppose. I'll leave it off there. Like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next one. Bye.